Program is the active center. Program is the active center.
All right, today we're diving into a legislative proposal that's been getting some buzz. It's called the SAVE Act. Now, this thing aims to completely change how we register to vote here in the U.S., all with the goal of election integrity. So what does it actually propose and what's the thinking behind it? Let's break it all down. So to really get a handle on the why behind this act, you gotta start where its proponents do. And interestingly, it's not with a bunch of stats or data. Nope. It all kicks off with a very personal story that really frames the whole problem they're trying to solve. And here's the story right at the heart of it. The author talks about his own mother going to her polling place, ready to vote, only to be stopped by a poll worker. Why? Because she was told someone had already signed in and cast a ballot in her name. I mean, according to the source, her vote was plain and simple stolen. So you see, this one incident isn't just about one person. It's used to make a much, much bigger point. Proponents of the SAVE Act look at this and say, see, this shows a huge vulnerability in our system. It leads them to ask, how is this even possible? What are the gaps that allow for this kind of vote theft to happen in the first place? And that question is exactly what the SAVE Act is designed to answer. Okay, so now that we've got the problem laid out, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the solution they're proposing. Just what is the SAVE Act? Well, the full name is a bit of a mouthful, the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE for short. And its main purpose, its core idea, is really simple. It would require every single person to show documentary proof of their U.S. citizenship when they register to vote in a federal election. The whole point is to make sure, without a doubt, that the voter rolls are made up of only eligible U.S. citizens. So how would it work? Well, the whole thing is built on three main pillars. Pillar number one, requiring what's called documentary proof of citizenship, or DPOC. We're talking about things like a passport or a birth certificate. Number two, it would force states to go through their existing voter lists and actively clean out anyone who isn't a citizen. And finally, number three, it sets up new ways to enforce all this, even putting penalties in place for officials who don't follow the rules. Now, what's really important to understand here is that this isn't just a small tweak. It's a huge shift in the whole philosophy of how we confirm who's eligible to vote. The proponents frame this as getting rid of what they call the current honor system. And this really shows you what that change looks like. Right now, the way it works is basically an honor system. You check a box on a form, and by signing it, you're swearing, under penalty of perjury, that you're a citizen. That's it. But the SAVE Act wants to completely replace that. Instead of just your word, it would demand actual verification. You'd have to provide physical documents, which creates a solid paper trail for every single person who registers. So what are the practical goals of moving to this verification system? Well, first off, it would create one single federal standard for proving citizenship, no more patchwork of different rules from state to state. It would also give states access to massive federal databases. We're talking Social Security, Department of Homeland Security, to help them cross-check their rolls and make sure everyone on there is actually eligible to vote. Okay, but this isn't just about the mechanics of filling out forms. The source material goes deeper, making a constitutional argument for these changes. The central idea here is about protecting the value of every single citizen's vote. And to understand that, we have to talk about a concept called vote dilution. Here's the argument. The right to vote isn't just about being able to cast a ballot. It's about making sure that your legal vote has its full power. The theory is that every time an illegal or improper vote gets counted, it ever so slightly weakens or dilutes the impact of your legitimate vote. This chart is a great way to visualize what they mean. Think of your legal vote as having 100% of its value. Proponents argue that when an illegal vote gets tossed into the mix, it chips away at that value. Your vote is no longer worth 100%, it's diluted. And they say that preventing this exact thing is one of the main reasons for the SAVE Act. This also connects to another big piece of the election integrity debate, requiring a photo ID at the polls. You often hear these two ideas talked about together. It's really presented as a two-step security process. Step one is what the SAVE Act does. Use documents to prove you're a citizen and get on the voter list in the first place. Step two is showing a photo ID to prove that you are the person on that list when you show up to vote. And this second step is meant to stop exactly what happened in that story we started with, in-person voter impersonation. So you take all these pieces, the proof of citizenship,
the clean voter lists, the photo ID at the polls, and what's the end game? What's the ultimate goal here? Well, according to proponents, it's all about one thing: building more public confidence and trust in our elections and their results.
This whole approach is described as a security-first model of running elections. The philosophy is pretty simple. Do all the heavy lifting, all the verification up front, long before a single ballot is ever cast. The thinking is, if everyone trusts that the voter rolls are rock solid and secure, there will be fewer questions, less suspicion, and more faith in the final count when the election is over. But, of course, it's not that simple. This approach brings us right to the core conflict in this whole debate. On one side, you have supporters saying this is a totally necessary step to protect something sacred, the ballot. But on the other side, critics raise a huge red flag. They worry that forcing people to produce specific documents creates major obstacles for perfectly legal, eligible citizens. They point to the elderly, people with low incomes, or others who might find it really difficult or even expensive to get their hands on a birth certificate or a passport.
And really, that leaves us with the million-dollar question that's at the absolute heart of this entire issue. Where do you draw the line?